Welcome back to the Garden with Joey and Holly radio show. We're going to talk native plants, but first, a word from our good friends from Farmers Defense.
Farm and garden in the ultimate comfort. Farmers Defense has lightweight and durable sleeves made to protect you against the elements while farming. Farmer sleeves offer unparalleled protection of arms and skin for any farmer, gardener, or outdoor worker. Say goodbye to irritated skin and sunburns in the garden. Their sleeves offer cooling comfort and protection against the elements outdoors. An alternative to thick clothing, Farmers Defense is made of wicking material with UBF protection factor of 50 plus to protect you from the allergens and scratches. To find all of their great products and more, visit farmersdefense.com.
Also good if you're going camping or you've got your own land that you're working. You got some protective measures there for you as well to protect your arms and your head there from the heat and the scratches of the bushes. So native plants, talking about bushes, native plants support the entire food web by providing food for insects, birds, bats, and small mammals and other wildlife. This is particularly important now since scientists are documenting global decline in insect population. Used in a rain garden, native plants help minimize flooding and filters out pollution. That's just some of the benefits of having native plants on your property or in your landscape.
Yeah, so let's kind of dive into that. They do provide a home and food source for butterflies, including monarchs and other insects. They attract those pollinators. So you'll see, if you grow native plants, you'll see those beautiful blooms, and they will attract those pollinators. So it's kind of like they're supporting their ecosystem. So the pollinators have something to pollinate. And then therefore your plants are going to look better.
But I have flowers.
Right, and that's fine. But native plants are the original plant, right? That's where the word native comes from. And so it's naturally a good place for your ecosystem in your backyard or wherever. And it just means, if you don't know what ecosystem means, it just means like the balance of the home of where you live in. So you can have an ecosystem in your own house, but you can also have an ecosystem in nature.
Well, the thing about native plants is they're native to your region. Phoenix is different than Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is different than St. Louis and Minneapolis. There's different species or varieties that grow in those areas. And some places in the world, that is the only place in the whole world that particular species grows, or that variety of that flower or that tree grows. And it's designed for that balance of ecosystem for those particular insects or bugs or birds that have a direct correlation with that tree, bush, or shrub or flower.
Absolutely. And so these plants are also low maintenance. They require a lot less water.
They're adaptive to the area because they know what the area is going to be.
Right. So they've existed in that area for a very long time.
Well, like for example here, cactus. Cactus don't grow too well in Pittsburgh or Boulder, Maine, but they grow really good in Phoenix and Colorado and Utah because they are native and they have adapted to the environment.
Absolutely. So they are, that low maintenance, and they do adapt to the environment. And then they also, like prairie plants, for example, have evolved to deal with the summer, heat, drought, etc. Their roots are strong. Their roots do go deep. They don't need fertilizer. A lot of these native plants don't need any additional care. Maybe when you get them started, they do, but once they're established, you typically don't. And that's going to save you money and keep extra nutrients out of the waters, and also
balance the bug infestation, because the good bugs are going to come in and control the bad bugs. And you bring up the word prairie. Most people are like, what does that mean?
There's prairie land all around us.
I'm talking, there used to be billions of acres, and now there's just minuscule amount of acres now.
I don't know the exact scientific definition of prairie, but there is prairie land. You probably, if you Google search prairie land in your zip code, as long as you don't live in the desert, there's probably prairie land of some sort nearby. Generically,
it's an open area with different types of grasses and shrubbery growing, not trees.
No, not trees. Right. Yeah. So, I know by us here, we're our studios in the Milwaukee area, and there's a lot of prairie land areas, not a lot, but there are prairie land areas not too far.
But Wisconsin, the Department of Natural Resources in Wisconsin, they work very hard in order to preserve areas for that so it's not taken away and we lose that.
Right.
I don't know if that's the same in every other state, but
I don't know.
Wisconsin has a very dedicated work mindset towards we're going to preserve as much forest and prairie land as possible so it doesn't go to farmland or go to residential establishments.
Right. So native plants also kind of give back to the soil. They support the good soil quality. They help prevent erosion. And
because of the deep roots.
Yep. And then they also are able to absorb water quickly because of those deep roots. They're going to store that water in the roots or wherever they need to. So they're good for the soil. They're good for things like flooding and also just erosion. So these are all things that I'm sure even if you don't know what these words mean or whatever, you don't think about them, I'm sure you've heard them, whether it be on the news or somewhere else, people talking about flooding, erosion, etc. They are beautiful. If you think about something like the black-eyed Susan, which is a common plant, which is also known as Rebecca, or even like the purple blazing star, you've probably seen these plants, whether it be walking down the street
in the ditch.
The ditch.
Uh-huh.
And they are very colorful, very vibrant, and they fit any landscape very well. And they connect us to the natural world.
And with those vibrant colors, they are vibrant for a specific reason to attract certain pollinators in to attract and pollinate and cross pollinate and all the things that the pollinators do.
They attract me.
They attract you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you look at erosion, and you will come to a point where in your area you will have a large amount of rain come in a very short period of time, and you will see in areas where there is no vegetation, agricultural field, it's just been tilled, that it cuts a very deep trench through that as the water is cascading through the field. It's going, it takes all that soil with it. That is why in agricultural world, in some places, it's called waterways, where there is distinct areas that are low-lying, that is all grass. In our instance, back on the farm, it was fescue, but it could be 5 foot or 15 foot wide by the width of the field as it would go down to the lower areas, and that would help prevent or slow down erosion in the field and capture that water and funnel it away without disturbing or cutting big ditches into the field.
I remember the first time Joey told me about fescue.
Uh-huh.
We were on...
This is another story.
We
didn't hear nobody say they didn't like the stories. Let's put it that way.
We were on... I don't know who... We were on the...
neighbor's property.
The neighbor's property. Yeah. And we were walking, and you said something about the fescue, and I was like, what are you talking about? And you're like, that's the native grass. And you explained it just probably how you did. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I'm a plant person. So
well, it's what in Southern Illinois, that is grown a lot in pastures for cattle and in waterways.
And we were just dating at that point. So many years ago. It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
Comes full circle. We're talking about fescue 16 years later. It was probably around this time of the year.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
But that's...
Do you like my story?
The story is wonderful. gardentalkradio@gmail.com if you'd like to hear more stories. Holly can sit down and tell you everything that you would ever imagine to know.
But they have to be authentic.
But okay, yeah, I know they have to be authentic. They can't be Jay Peterman buying Kramer's stories.
No, but I'm saying that they have to be like off the cuff, like we're talking about something, and then have to say it.
If people are wanting to transform a portion of their property into native plants, what is the most reliable or best place to go in order to go, okay, I'm in this region, what are the top 5 most native plants in which are accessible and I can put in my yard?
You can typically go to your Department of Natural Resources website. They will have a listing there, and then depending on the state, they might have it by region. Otherwise, if you go to your local garden center, they should sell these native plants.
They'll have they'll have an area.
Yeah, they'll have an area of the native plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would go with the DNR or the extension office to find out what they would recommend, because they would know what, this used to be a native plant, but because of the conditions changing and the growing zones elevating farther north, this no longer is good for this area, even though it was a traditional native plant. I think that would be a good way to go as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the weather is warmed up, Holly, and you want to protect your garden from various beetles, weevils, and borers, especially those Japanese beetles that we are having flying around in your area.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by
You're so bothered by them that you came and...
I am, especially beetles.
Uh-huh.
That Grub Gone is an easy to apply granular product that can spread on your turf to successfully control the grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only scarab pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you already have beetles flying around your yard, Beetle Gone is an organic water dispersible powder that you can spray directly on your edible plants. For more information, visit them at phyllumbioproducts.com. That's PHYLLOM bioproducts.com.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.